Jury pool because the president and the attorney general have already condemned the well. It's ridiculous.
Not allowing them their day in court would make a mockery of our constitutional principles, Ron, and I think you ought to know that as a lawyer.
I do know that, Ron, but I'd say to you, military commissions and tribunals have been used since the Civil War. They did it with those who sought to assassinate Abraham Lincoln. We established it after Congress complained about it during the Bush years. We put the system in place. We had those people in Guantanamo Bay.
Okay.
This is a terrible mistake.
The Constitution defines a traitor as someone who gives aid and comfort to the enemy. Is he a traitor, the President of the United States?
No, he's not a traitor.
The constitutional language is clear here. So the Vice President has used that, employed that specific language. You say you have no problem with it, but the language is clear. You're an attorney of the court here, of public opinion. You really think it's fair to accuse the president of giving aid and comfort to the enemy using those very words the Constitution defines as treason? You have no problem with that.
The third time is the charm,
calling him a traitor.
Chris. The third time is the charm. Yes, it will give aid and comfort to al-Qaeda to bring those people in courtroom. And no, Dick Cheney did not say that the president's a traitor, and he did not say it's treasonous.
But I'm asking you, is he guilty of giving aid and comfort to the enemy?
Yes, by bringing these folks in here.
And the Constitution defines that as treason.
Chris, you're trying to mix words here.
I'm not mixing words.
The
Here it
Constitution
is.
of the United States is one thing. The Vice President did not say...
Okay, so he doesn't he's not using constitutional language, you're saying.
The Vice President said that it's giving aid and comfort to the enemy. He didn't say, I'm defining that...
Okay, so in other words, he's not using constitutional language.
Just say that. Oh, Chris, you can use words. You can use words strung together and say, are they constitutional language or not?
I didn't string them together. I think it'll give aid and comfort to the enemy. The Vice President. Want to play it again?
That's exactly right. We can play it again.
And you have no problem with that language. Okay, let's go into some of the other language. The Vice President, again on Hannity last night, said, let me get this light. When you have a, let's look at this. This is about the American exceptionalism. Let's listen to that bite.
I mean that I think it'll give aid and comfort to the enemy. I think it will make Khalid Sheikh Mohammed something of a hero in certain circles, especially in the radical regions of Islam around the world. It'll put him on the map. He'll be as important or more important than Osama bin Laden.
Wow.
And we will have made it possible.
Then you don't think he believes in America as an exceptional country?
I wonder why the President of the United States would go over and bow and put himself before other leaders, and why he would go out and say things like America has been arrogant. He's the President of the United States.
We can argue about whether he should have bowed or not. I've gone after that. But are you saying, A, he gives aid and comfort to the enemy, and he doesn't believe in America as an exceptional place?
I think he's giving aid and comfort. This is the fourth time I'll say it.
Okay. Do you believe he doesn't believe in American exceptionalism as a special place?
I hope he does, though none of his public statements have given me reason to believe that he does.
Well, let's take a look. Here's President Barack Obama. You say he does.
I say he does what?
He does believe this is a special country.
I hope he does. He's the president of the United States.
Why is the Vice President, former Vice President, saying he doesn't? Ron, you get in here. These charges are so essential. It's almost like the birther crowd. It's so essential when you say the guy gives aid and comfort to the enemy, and he really doesn't share his love of country that we all have here. I mean, when you go after those essential things, you're not arguing with him whether he should bow to a Japanese emperor or not. I don't think he should have bowed or not. I have a problem with the trial in New York. But these personal attacks on the President of the United States get to the question of his legitimacy. To say he's giving aid and comfort to the enemy, well, he shouldn't be president if he does that. Number two, if he doesn't believe in American exceptionalism, how the hell did he ever get elected? Your thoughts?
I think we're seeing the way the right likes to, and then Dick Cheney perhaps likes to have it both ways. I mean, aid and comfort to the enemy, but I'm not calling him a traitor. I'm just using language that our Constitution defines as traitorous, aid and comfort to the enemy. Exceptionalism, Dick Cheney's sense of the exceptionalism of the United States seems to be that when we feel like it, we can violate our own domestic laws and international laws as well by, for instance, torturing people, which is a war crime. You want to call this thing a war on terror? Fine. That makes Dick Cheney and many of his friends in the Bush administration war criminals because they condoned and promoted torture, which is a war crime. So see you in The Hague, Dick Cheney.
Well, of course, you know that the United States did not condone torture. It's against the law to torture people.
Well, we did it anyway then, Ron. We did that. We tortured people. We did not
torture people. And
really? Would you call waterboarding torture, Ron?
Waterboarding was defined, again, as not being torture. But it goes
defined by whom? Defined by whom, Ron?
We've already gone through this with congressional hearings. We've gone through the legalities of this, Ron.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it anymore, do we?
Oh, we do want to talk about it. And
I'd be happy to.
Did the proper thing. The thing I would say to you
I don't.
Your father would never have gone overseas, and he would never have bowed to foreign leaders. He always talked about America being a great place.
Oh, stop with the bowing business. He was being polite to an elderly Japanese gentleman.
And
this bowing stuff is such nose-blowing nonsense, Ron Christie.
Ronald Reagan always spoke of America's promise. Barack Obama never does that.
Ronald Reagan didn't approve of torture and signed an international covenant preventing torture, prohibiting torture for the United States. So don't bring up my father's name in the realm of torture, Mr. Christie.
I'm bringing up your father's name, Mr. Reagan, in the sense that Ronald Reagan stood for America. He knew what America's promise was. He protected the American people. He did not back down.
Thank you for the boilerplate, Mr. Christie. Thank you for the boilerplate.
Let me go to something we can look at a tape of, gentlemen. And this gets to this charge by Dick Cheney. He's attacked the president of aiding and comforting the enemy last night on Fox. And then he went further and said he doesn't share our love of country, which I think everybody here shares. And certainly I think the vice president does too. But here he is attacking him as some sort of outsider who's not one of us. He says he doesn't share our view of American exceptionalism. And I think he means something pretty deep in this shot. And here's the president of the United States speaking about his view of this country at the 2004 Democratic Convention when I first noticed this guy. Here it is. Let's listen.
Through hard work and perseverance, my father got a scholarship to study in a magical place, America, that shone as a beacon of freedom and opportunity to so many who had come before. I stand here knowing that my story is part of the larger American story, that I owe a debt to all of those who came before me, and that in no other country on earth is my story even possible.
That was an exceptional speech.
And what's he talking about?
That's an exceptional speech. We're talking about a man who was elected president of the United States, who could go around the world and go around this country and talk about the greatness of this country, that our greatest days are still before us, as opposed to going abroad and saying that America is arrogant, bowing before foreign leaders and being apologetic to this country. What happened to that, Barack Obama, Chris?
Let me just say that to accuse the man who made those words and inspired so many of us with those words, and it was when I heard him say that, I said, this is going to be the first African-American president, because I've never heard anybody speak so beautifully about this country. And to have the vice president of the United States go on Fox television last night to use that organ to go out and blast this guy as a man who gives aid and comfort to the enemy, which is constitutional language for treason. Whether you agree or not, it's in the Constitution, Article 3, Section 3. That is what it means. And then to go on and say he doesn't share our love of the exceptional nature of this country, when we have heard him say it from the time we first met this guy. And I don't believe you're this loyal to Dick Cheney that you can defend his language. Aid and comfort the enemy. You've done it 4 times. I want us to do it again. And to say that you don't think that this president shares a notion of this country as special, as exceptional in the world?
No, I said I think he believes it, Chris, but we need to hear it from him.
Oh, okay.
We need to hear it from him. Obviously, I think he is patriotic. Obviously, he ran to become the leader of this country.
Would Dick Cheney say that once?
Wait. Let me finish my point here. The point is, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton always talked about the greatness of this country. We need to hear this.
Okay, here's some more Cheney.
Obama.
Ron Reagan, hold on. Here's some more Cheney. I think we have this bite here. This is Cheney on Obama again last night about him being a radical. Let's take a listen to this.
I saw him when he got elected as a liberal Democrat, but conventional in the sense of sort of falling within the parameters of the National Democratic Party. I think he's demonstrated pretty conclusively now during his first year in office that he's more radical than that he's farther outside the parameters, if you will, of what we've traditionally had in Democratic presidents in years past.
He's a traitor, he's radical, and never mind. Your thoughts, Ron Reagan?
He's a radical traitor, I guess. He's such a radical traitor, in fact, that he kept on Robert Gates, George Bush's and Dick Cheney's Secretary of Defense. He's such a radical traitor that he renominated Ben Bernanke as chairman of the Federal Reserve, who, of course, George Bush and Dick Cheney also wanted as chairman of the Federal Reserve. Yes, he's such a radical traitor, that Barack Obama. And how much do we have to hear from him about his views about America and what a beautiful and exceptional country this is? We've heard lots from him about that. So the idea that we haven't is just absurd.
Ron, Christie.
Chris Matthews, I think that I agree with Vice President Cheney's comments. I think that it is very clear to me that this is the most left-wing radical administration that we've seen in American history. They spent $787 billion in a stimulus bill that didn't work. They're trying to ram through a health care bill that will be 1/6 of the U.S. economy without recognizing the consequences. I absolutely believe, if you're going to ask me, is that a radical vision?
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Well, I'm not much of a radical, and I think all this stuff's great. Anyway, thank you, Ron Reagan, especially Ron Reagan and Ron Christie. I've never met a lawyer. By the way, Merry Christmas. And if you don't get Christmas cards and invitations from Dick Cheney to every party he's having, you've hooked your card to the wrong horse. Coming up, so what's the deal? By the way, best to your whole family, Ron. Thank you. And that's so what's the deal with this so-called deal? Well, maybe it is to put the to get rid of the public option where it looks like we're going into federal employee country, the federal employee program for everybody, and also Medicare at 55. You don't have to retire anymore. You get Medicare at 55 if you pay for it. This could be the working proposition here. Even the progressives might go for this.